Welcome to the event center for Stampede Wrestling for 1 week in July of 1971. My name is Al Getz for Charting the Territories, and we're going to take a look at all the cards we have information on for Stampede Wrestling for 1 week in July of 1971, and then we're going to use the information we have to see if we can figure out what we're missing. Now, Stampede generally ran one show every night of the week, but the week we're looking at in particular may be one where there was a couple of nights where they ran more than one show. So we'll look at that and we'll explain why that is a little bit later. But first, we're going to take a look at the typical loop for Stampede Wrestling in 1971. As I mentioned, they typically ran one show per night. They definitely ran 6 nights a week. And on Sundays, we don't have very much information. In fact, for all of 1971, I only have records for one show held on a Sunday. So they may have run spot shows on Sundays, but it probably wasn't an every week thing. Now, Mondays, they typically ran Lethbridge, Alberta, although at times they ran the nearby town of Tabor instead of Lethbridge. Tuesdays, they would alternate every other week between Red Deer, Alberta, and Medicine Hat, Alberta. Wednesdays was Saskatoon, Thursdays was Regina, Fridays was Calgary, and Saturdays was Edmonton. So let's take a look at a sample week, the week beginning Monday, July 12th, 1971. On Monday, they ran Tabor, Alberta, with an NWA World Heavyweight Championship match between Dory Funk Jr. and challenger Black Angus Campbell. Also on the card was Betty Nicoli versus Marie Laverne, and Les Thornton defending the North American heavyweight title against Moose Morawski. Also advertised was a international tag team title match, a match featuring the Little Persons, and in all, it lists 6 bouts featuring 18 wrestlers. Now, this information will come in handy when we look at our spreadsheet later of all the wrestlers and the nights they were booked. Knowing how many matches this card had and how many wrestlers were on it will help us sort of fill in the blanks. On Tuesday, July 13th, they ran Red Deer, Alberta. Dory Funk Jr. once again defending the NWA World Heavyweight title against Black Angus Campbell, plus Betty Nicoli against Marie Laverne, an international tag team title match, a North American title match, a tag match featuring the Little Persons, and once again, 6 bouts in all featuring 18 wrestlers in total. On Wednesday, July 14th, they ran Saskatoon with Dory Funk Jr. defending the NWA World Heavyweight title against Les Thornton. And here, this little piece in the local newspaper references a previous 1-hour draw in Calgary as a way of building up this match. Also on the card, they list the Little Persons in a singles match, plus Earl Black and Tiger Tommaso against Dan Crawford and Bill Cody. On Thursday, July 15th, they moved to Regina, Saskatchewan, with once again Dory Funk Jr. versus Les Thornton. And you can see, again, they're referencing the 60-minute time limit draw in Calgary. A singles bout between 2 Little Persons as Skylo Low is advertised to face Kid Panther. An international tag team title match with Black and Tommaso against Crawford and Cody. And also they list the opening bout as the Great Moki versus Bob Peary. Then Friday in Calgary at the Victoria Pavilion is Dory Funk Jr. versus Black Angus Campbell for the NWA World Heavyweight title. A North American title match with Les Thornton defending against Moose Morawski, plus a triple mixed tag match, as they bill it, featuring the female wrestlers and the Little Persons, and an international tag team championship bout, and a total of 7 matches. The final card we have for this week is Saturday, July 17th in Edmonton, where Dory Funk Jr. defends the World Heavyweight title against Black Angus Campbell. Also, Marie Laverne against Betty Nicoli, a North American Tag Team Championship match. Actually, the titles were billed as the international tag titles, so this appears to be a typo, with Crawford and Cody against Black and Tommaso. Also, a tag match featuring the Little Persons, Les Thornton versus Moose Morawski, and Bud Osborne against the Mighty Ursus. So now that we have this information on the 6 cards we know were held in the territory in 1971, we also will use our results, which contain all the matches listed for many of the cards, not just what's advertised, to put together a spreadsheet showing which wrestlers were booked on which nights. So here's that spreadsheet. Baby faces are on the left-hand side. Heels are on the right-hand side. The very first row is the two wrestlers who were considered main eventers in the territory, while below them is wrestlers who were positioned lower on the cards. The special attractions, Dory, the women wrestlers, and the little persons are listed beneath all that. So we can see on Monday the 12th, we don't have complete results. We only know the matches that were advertised, but we do know the total number of matches and the total number of wrestlers. Remember, it was 6 matches, 18 wrestlers in total, which matched the what was advertised for the next night in Red Deer. And there we see, because we have the results, we have a full listing of who was booked on those cards. The only wrestlers not booked were babyfaces Mighty Ursus and Bob Pringle, and heel Bud Osborne. So in this case, there definitely weren't enough unbooked wrestlers to have an additional show on Tuesday. And given that the number of matches and total number of wrestlers was the same as what was advertised for the night before in Tabor, in all likelihood, those same wrestlers were booked the night before in Tabor. It's possible that Osborne and Pringle were booked as preliminary wrestlers instead of some of the prelim wrestlers that were booked in Red Deer, but we don't know that for sure. But in all likelihood, it was a very similar crew. The next night and the night after that in the two towns in Saskatchewan, Saskatoon and Regina, we see there are a few unbooked wrestlers. And what's particularly noteworthy is that the two women wrestlers, Betty Nicolai and Marie Laverne, and 2 of the little persons, who here are listed as Little Brutus and Pee Wee Adams, although in some of the advertisements, it's a different little person advertised instead of Pee Wee Adams, but Pee Wee is the one that actually appeared. 4 of them are unbooked on Wednesday and Thursday. And as a general rule of thumb, when the special attractions, such as the women or the little persons or the occasional wrestling bear were brought in, they worked every night the territory was running shows. Because they were only in for a week or two, they would generally have them work every possible night. And then when they, went back home, they might have a little break before they moved on to their next territory. So here, the fact that those 4 special attractions are unbooked is strong indication that there could have been additional shows on Wednesday and Thursday. And looking at the full-time members of the roster, we see Black Angus Campbell and Moose Morawski were unbooked, as was Mighty Ursus, and some wrestlers lower on the card, Victor Jovica, Bob Pringle, Bud Osborne, and Sterling Gaylord. So there's certainly enough wrestlers unbooked to have cards on each of these nights. And it very well may have looked like this: Black Angus Campbell against Moose Morawski in a heel versus heel match, or perhaps one of those two against Mighty Ursus. And then there likely would have been a mixed tag featuring the women and the little persons teaming up, and then 1 or 2 prelims involving Osborne, Gaylord, Jovica, and Pringle. On Friday in Calgary, every wrestler except for Victor Jovica is booked. So in this case, they certainly didn't run an additional show. And the same is most likely the case for Saturday. There are a total of 5 unbooked wrestlers, but they are all lower on the cards. They're all slotted as preliminary wrestlers. So it's highly unlikely that they would have run even a small spot show with just preliminary wrestlers. So there you see our look at Stampede Wrestling in 1971. And it's interesting to note that when Dory Funk Jr. was in the territory, that they also brought in 6 other special attractions, 2 female wrestlers and 4 little persons. And this may be counterintuitive. You may be thinking to yourself, well, if they had the world champion, they probably didn't need to bring in any extra bodies to draw a big house. But as we looked at Wednesday and Thursday, the reason why territories did this was so that they would have enough wrestlers in total to run an additional show that they wouldn't normally run. Here, if Stampede is normally a one show a night territory, having a total of 7 additional wrestlers allows them the opportunity to run those small spot towns at least a couple of nights during the week. So that's it for this month, our look at Stampede Wrestling in 1971. I'm Al Getz for Charting the Territories. Thank you for watching, and be sure to check out www.chartingtheterritories.com for more about a year in the life of Stampede Wrestling in 1971.